Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the live session for the evening, and the agenda for the session is checklist that needs to be taken off before the submission of the interim report. Dr. Manoj, you can now take the session forward.
Thank you, Karan. And shall we start now, or do we have to wait for a few more minutes, Karan?
No, we can start now.
Okay, thank you, Karan. And hello, hi, everyone. So welcome to this week's live classroom session. So it's going to be pretty quick on giving you some of the pointers on what we look during your interim report. Okay, so the first one, I will just start with the proper structure. So first thing, it's in your abstract. Please make sure that your abstract is concise enough to explain what the work is been trying to address. Make sure that your abstract has all the 6 key elements which we have discussed earlier, which is nothing but the introduction and the background, the problems, the methods which you have applied, and what are the expected results, and then a conclusion. So these 6 key elements are important to be included in your abstract, and your abstract should be within the range of 200 to 250 words to a maximum of 1 page. Okay, so this is something important, guys, for your abstract. And second thing, for the introduction part, it can easily range between 5 to 10 pages. And in your introduction, the background of the study, which we have seen in the past, like the students write a very less background. Please make sure that the background is quite detailed enough, and it doesn't matter if the background goes to like 2 to 2.5 pages or even 3 pages. That's absolutely fine. So what are the information does a background contains? So the background should have a proper discussion, like you can introduce the domain, you can try to find the relevance to your area. That's the second point. If you want to capture some kind of a trends or a recent interest or a research interest, you can include that in the background. And you have to discuss something about the problems which has been addressed by the other researchers, followed by what is the problem you are trying to solve and what is the clear purpose of your research. So all these 5 things are important to be included in your background. Okay, and after your background, it's your problem statement. So in your problem statement, which is nothing but it's a summary of your literature review. Okay, and second thing, which is important in your problem statement, which I told you earlier, again, like we will map your problem statement with the objectives. So make sure that your problem statement and objectives are properly mapped. This is important. Okay, so you have mentioned a problem A, which should be solved by a specific objective. So we will do the mapping in that area. So the next part, it's your aim and objectives. For the aim, you should have minimum of 3 objectives and maximum of 5. So for a master's dissertation, a good number of objectives can be between 3 and 4, not even 5. So we don't even ask you to go with the 5 different objectives. So 3 to 4 objectives is more than sufficient for your master's dissertation. And in your chapter 1, I believe you guys already have a structure and you have been following the structure for your interim report. Okay, so in your chapter 1, you also have few more sections on a significance of your study as well as the scope of the study. So a significance of the study should provide some detailed benefits, like what is the real benefits of your research and who is going to be benefited. So all these things needs to be included in your significance. And for the scope, it's the limitations in your research has to be discussed. And then in your chapter 1, you also have a structure, which we don't really consider much, but rather it's just for, to have a proper documentation style we have included. So the structure of the study, which is nothing but to provide a detailed outline. So this is about your chapter 1. So second, in your chapter 2, and then in your chapter 3, most of the students will not include introduction and a summary. This is something important, guys. Please make sure that you have a introduction and summary for your chapter 2 and chapter 3. So what is this introduction is about? So that you are trying to introduce the particular chapter. It's not the entire research. So in your chapter 2, I repeat, you need to have a introduction and summary. The next point on your literature review, which we see, like if you are going to have only 2 pages of literature review or 3 pages of literature review, that is not at all sufficient. As we have been discussing a lot, like please try to write a little bit more on your literature review. Try to organize your literature review through some different headings and subheadings. So we will consider all this into the consideration in your chapter 2, which is your literature review. And then in your chapter 3, your methodology has to be very precise and clear for us to know, like what are the methods you are applying, when are you applying this method, followed by which algorithms or the techniques which you are applying, why are you applying these techniques, and how these techniques are related to your problem, and what is the benefit which you are going to get by applying these algorithms. And the last point would be the evaluation metrics. So what are the evaluation metrics which you are going to include it in your research? So all these things will be discussed, has to be discussed in very detail in your chapter 3. So this is for your interim report. And some students have already done some analysis, or someone have even implemented the results. They already have a results. If you guys have these parts ready, you can just add them and you can submit during your interim report. Otherwise, the first 3 chapters are more than sufficient. Is that clear? And the next point, you need to include the appendix. So your appendix should have your research proposal. So whatever you have written it in your research proposal, you can just add. You don't have to change anything to your research proposal. You can just attach it along with your appendix. And the second important point, if you're working on a medical domain and if you have collected any data, or from whether it is from an industry or from some other patients, you need to have an ethical approval, or else like a company approval letter to be included in your appendix. Okay, guys, so once you have completed everything, please try to read your document many times. You will find quite a lot of improvements needs to be done. So you have to read a lot what you have written. That is something very important which you guys have to do. And in the meantime, you can also try to discuss with your thesis supervisors. And if you got stuck in any part, obviously you can reach to us. And one more point which I just popped up in my mind right now, which is on a Mendeley. Please make sure that you have a proper referencing style. If your referencing style is not proper, you are going to lose some marks in your referencing style. I think it's somewhere between 5 to 10 marks. So every section matters, your formatting matters. So try to focus on these aspects. Okay, guys. So is there any other doubts in your in your interim report? You can post your questions in the Q&A. Okay, so it's a question from Jagan. Is there any reference project for submission from LJMU? The answer is no. We don't give any reference project, Jagan. Even if you are a full-time student, you won't get. You just have to discuss with your supervisors, and you just need to, format your structure it should be on your own for your masters, and we don't provide any sample. Okay, so the next question is from Nishant. In literature review chapter, there is a discussion section. So what is to be included in that? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Nishant, for asking this question. If you have a discussion section, it is very clear for us to identify like, hey, come on, these are the research gaps the students have identified in this work. And we will try to map the discussion section with your objectives. So as you can see, like it's a kind of a circle between your problem statement, your objectives, and then between your discussion section in your literature review. So all these three things needs to be mapped. So what you will have it in your discussion section, it needs to be on the problems which you have identified in the existing literature. It's better if you can have a discussion section in your literature review. Okay, from the next question, it's from Kiran. As part of a research plan, do we need to include project planner? You can do that, and the project plan is for the remaining chapters, which is your analysis or your implementation, your results, your conclusion. So those things needs to be included in your research plan. Okay, so Purva, acknowledgement, if it's mandatory, what is expected there? Can we mention whoever has guided us for this research? Yeah, that's right. And the next question is from TD. I just have to copy paste the research proposal text by text, right? That, yeah, you are absolutely right. You just have to copy exactly from your proposal into your appendix. You don't have to write anything. You don't have to change. You don't have to modify nothing. You don't have to do anything. You just have to copy and paste it in your appendix. That's it. Okay, the next question is from Raghu. So Raghu, are acknowledgement and dedication sections mandatory? Would it be great if you can provide a sample on what should be in acknowledgement? So acknowledgement, you just have to thank the persons who have helped you. It can be your thesis supervisors, it can be the upgrad team, or it can be your family members. You know, they have also dedicated something for you. So all the acknowledgements, it can be your friends, or you can just thank them. You can just try to Google for some of the acknowledgements. And a dedication is nothing, it's an optional. Okay, guys, dedication is an optional. You just, if you are interested to dedicate your research or your, you know, your thesis to someone, to maybe to your family or to your parents, or to be specific to some of the person in your family, you can just say like, this research or this thesis has been dedicated to my parents or family. It's just one single sentence. Okay, the next question is from Vinodini. Can the research proposal be embedded into the proposal, or full content to be added? I could not able to understand, Vinodini. Can the research proposal be embedded into the proposal? Sorry, I could not able to understand. I think you are trying to ask whether the proposal needs to be copied into your interim report. When you are trying to copy, it should be the entire content. Okay, so that is a next question from Anurag. Can you provide what is written in the dedication section and acknowledgements? Okay, I think quite a lot of student has a doubt on that aspect. Just give me some time. Let me just try to find some sample for the dedication and acknowledgement. Okay, so the next question is from Nishant. If I speak to some industry experts on the research area, should I include that in the discussions and a citation is also required for this? It depends upon what type of discussion which you had it with your industry experts. And the most important, it may not be in your literature review, it will be in your research methodology. So in your research methodology, you have to include a section like was it a structured interview or is it a questionnaire, or what kind of discussions you had it with your experts, and why do you had, what information you have gained. So those things has to be articulated in your research methods, not in your literature review. Okay, so the next question is from Kiran. Can you please explain more about the discussion of literature review? Okay, sure. Your discussion is a quick recap on what you have written it in your literature review. Remember, guys, you might have written like 20 or 30 pages. You are trying to shorten them into 1 or 2 pages to say like, hey, come on, you are again going to discuss some of the background of the work, and you are going to say like, for this problem, these are the different methods which has been applied, but despite that, there are some problems which still needs to be addressed. So those kind of discussions will be included. The next question is from Vinodini. Can the EDA be part of chapter 3? No, Vinodini. It should be part of analysis, which is your chapter 4. Okay, the next question is from Nishant. Is abbreviation figures and tables section mandatory? Do we need to add abbreviations for general terms used in the subject also? The abbreviation, yeah, if you have included, then you need to have it in a list of abbreviations. The figures and tables, if you have tables and figures in your document, then it is required. Okay, the next question is from Alok. What should be in related research publications? Do I need to write a paper or publication names and explain them in this section? Okay, if you have seen the sample, I think it's Alok is trying to ask based on the sample which has been provided by us. If you see the sample, the earlier sections, the student has been discussing about some breast cancer, even going on with the general type of cancers and what are the different types of chronic disease, how the data mining has been benefiting in the healthcare industry. So all those general kinds of information is being included. And towards that, the particular student has been working on a research data set which has quite a lot of citations, or meaning to say like quite a lot of work is being done in that particular data set. So the student feel like it's better to have a separate section to discuss what others have done in that specific data set. So since the student has found like something important to be discussed, he or she has just kept it as a separate section. So same thing goes to you, Alok. If you think like something needs to be explained it based on the data set wise, then you can have. Otherwise, you can just mix it with your normal discussion. Okay, the next question is from Srinivas. What is the exact breakup of marks for each section? Okay, if you want the exact, just give me some time. Let me just try to download your marking scheme and I can show you right away. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay, guys, so this is the marking scheme for your interim report. If you want, you can just take a note. Okay, the next question from Nishant. Do we need to add chapter 4 analysis also in this submission? It's optional. So as you can see, even in your marking scheme, there is no separate section for your chapter 4, which is your analysis. Because in your chapter 4, we are expecting only the three, which is your introduction, literature review, and then your research methodology.
Hello?
Yes, Karan.
Okay, doctor. I thought there was some network connection issue.
No, I'm just waiting for the students. They are taking note of this marking criteria.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Okay, guys. So let's proceed further. So if you can see the marking scheme, there are some marks for your general structure, formatting, and layout, which is 10 marks, which is easy to get. Grammar, style, and the writing, it is in another 10 marks. Your introduction, it's 15. Your literature review, it's 20. Your research methodology, it's 20. Focus and clarity of arguments, this is something which you're going to get somewhere around 15 marks. And a citation and reference, which is easy to get 10 marks. If you don't follow the proper style, then you won't have a full marks for these. Okay, there is one student who says like he or she couldn't able to see the marking criteria. And what about the rest? Can you just say it in the chat message, please? And TD, uh, all the students are saying they could able to see except Raghu and you. Let me just open it again. So just for you, TD and Raghu, I just closed the slide, I mean the Excel, and I just reopened it again. So Sai says, yeah, he can see. Oh, okay. Sai mentioned like if you are using your desktop, you would be able to see the slides or the presentation, whereas if you're using your mobile, I think you may not be able to view. If that's the case, TD, you just have to, you know, switch to your desktop machine. Okay, by the way, we have few more queries. Let me just go and answer. Okay, so the next question is from Vijay. Do all section needs to be in place even though those are required for current submission? For your current submission, assume like you are working for of your final. So meaning to say your chapter 1, 2, and 3 has to be complete along with your abstract. It has to be complete. However, if you want to change something on your methodology part, which you can do in your after your interim report, but while submitting, it has to be complete. Otherwise, it will affect your grade. So the next question is from Srini, anonymous attendee. In research methodology section, interactive visual analytics and interpretation subsection will be similar to EDA. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, anonymous attendee. It depends upon the wording. So you can just play around with your word. You can either have it as an EDA. If you have it as an EDA, you don't have to produce it as an interactive visual analytics. EDA can just be from a statistical report from an SPSS. You just produce it for your analysis. Whereas in the sample, the student, she came up with an interactive dashboard to show how the factors affects or changes based on conditions of a patient. So in that case, she thought like having an interactive visual analytics would be more relevant rather than EDA. Okay, so the next question is from Srinivas. What is the weightage of the interim report evaluation with respect to total marks of final examination? It is less, which is 5%, but it is a required component which you need to submit. Remember guys, if you don't submit your interim report, and if you think like it's just 5%, we will just submit the final thesis, which is 90%, you would still consider to be incomplete. So you have to complete all the components. Okay, so Halok has given another tip. So if you are using mobile phone, you just have to change it into a landscape mode, then you would be able to see the content. Thank you, Halok. Okay, so the next question is from Nishant. In the literature review, do we need to explain details about the problem statements or technical concepts used in the implementation? You can, but you don't have to go very detailed on the implementations, Nishant. Otherwise, it would look like reporting. You are simply reporting their paper. Okay, so don't go too detailed. Okay, so Alok has raised another question. In background, how should I cite the paper? Should I use a Staffordshire Harvard style? Yeah, you can use Staffordshire Harvard style, or you can use a Liverpool John Moores University Harvard style from Menley. Okay, so starting from your introduction and till your results, you have to follow the same style. Please don't use any square brackets or some other styles. The next question is from Kiran. What sections will be there in final report? In your final report, you will have all the chapters starting from your abstract till the conclusion, whereas in your interim report it's only the half, which is your abstract, introduction, literature review, and methodology. Okay, so the next question is from Vijay. Other than introduction, literature review, research methodology, do we also need to include other section headings, analysis, results, etc., and their structure, even though they are not empty in the interim report? Even though they are empty in the interim report, please don't include. Okay, there is no need for you to include the analysis, results, conclusion in your interim report if it is empty. Okay, so the next question is from Aman. Can you please demonstrate how can we cite an image for other things I'm using mainly? Even for the image, it's still the same. The image, from where did you get the image? Is it from a website or is it from a journal article, Aman? If it is from another paper, then you're just going to use the same way on how do you cite your normal text. The next question is from anonymous attendee. How introduction background is different from literature review? Okay, very good. Your literature review, it's very detailed. You are breaking them things apart, whereas in your background, it's very precise. You are just trying to give an entire view of your work. Okay, so while talking to you guys, I managed to find a sample just to show you dedication and acknowledgement. So this is a sample for a dedication and an acknowledgement. As you can see, like the dedication, the student has written to everyone that have supported me. So it can be something similar, or it can be to your parents, as I said earlier, or it can be to your friends or family members or any special love. Okay, an acknowledgement, it's just to thank them. You just have to say, the next question is from Nishant. Hi, sir. Can you please explain about the structure of the study? I missed when you explained earlier. Okay, Nishant. So the structure of the study is the section where you write the outline of your document or your dissertation. So you will just say like what is been included in your chapter 2, what are you have included in your chapter 3. So if it is a final case, you just have to go for every single chapter. It's just an outline. The next person, anonymous attendee. So in a research methodology, can we describe the general details of a model like the logistical model, or do we have it on literature review? Okay, if you are using that specific algorithm, then it has to be discussed in your research methodology. Okay, guys. So by the way, can you able to see the dedication and acknowledgement? Can you just say yes or no? Any one person in the chat window? Okay, that's great. So this is the sample, guys. Thank you for those who have answered. Thank you very much. So this is just a sample. If you want, you can add more to the acknowledgement, and this student has written less. So it's up to you. It can be even a single line, or it can go to 1 page or 2 pages of acknowledgement. So basically an acknowledgement is a place where you are thanking everyone who has supported you during your master's dissertation. That's it, simple. From the next question from Srinivas, how many words are required for each section? Come on, guys, please don't go too specific on the to the word. How to say, for your interim report, let's say it's between 6,000 to 8,000 words overall. So your chapter 1 can be somewhere between the range of 1,500 to 2,500. Your literature review can be between 3,000 to 5,000. It can be between that range. And your research methodology, again, it can be somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 words, plus or minus. So these are all just a plus or minus, Srinivas. Okay, so the next question is from anonymous attendee. Can we change the font from Times New Roman to Calibra, keeping the sides same dual? Not required. Please, I'm trying to maintain Times New Roman. Don't change the fonts. And Srinivas, are figures mandatory? If you have any figures, you can include. Otherwise, you don't have to include, Srinivas. Okay, so the next question is from Alok. May I copy any image from a research paper to use it in introduction? Yeah, why not? If you think like an image is something important, is trying to convey some message, and why not, you can include them in your introduction. Okay, guys, so is there any doubts on the dedication and acknowledgement? Specific to dedication and acknowledgement, is that clear? Can anyone just say, okay, Sai, thank you, Sai. It's clear for him. Is there any example of citation? Okay, what I'm going to do now, since the document is in front of us, I will just try to show a quick, a sample, but I'm not going to share this sample, which is absolutely, I'm not going to do it. So since you guys are here and since we have a sample in front of me, so I'm just going to show you a sample right now in this video presentation. And this is the first time I'm doing as well. For none of my students, I used to give a sample. Okay, now you can see here how the student has written an abstract. This is for the final thesis, guys. So this is for the final thesis. As you can see, like us, this particular student has captured the entire one full page of abstract. And if you read the abstract, then it will be very clear with the proper background, the problems, as well as like what others have done and what this particular student is working on. So everything will be included in this abstract. So if you can see the number of words in the abstract, it's 401 words for the abstract, but which is not required if it is minimum 200 to 250, that is the bad minimum. Okay, and see here in the table of content. In the table of content, you have a dedication, acknowledgement, abstract, table of contents, list of tables, list of figures, abbreviation, and you can see in the introduction sections, the literature review. You can see how the student have structured the literature review. So she has written almost like 35 pages in the literature review. And in the research methodology, you can see that there is a clear research approach, and then the different models which has been applied. And you can see the analysis part. In the analysis, she has written about the data pre-processing, summary statistics, EDA, and she is also talking about like how the clustering algorithms is going to be applied and the predictive movie preference based on an interest, which is I'm in the section 4.7. And then you can go to the results and discussion. So you can see the results and discussions is somewhere between 10 or 15 pages. And then chapter 6, it's between like 4 pages. Okay, so you can see the list of tables and list of figures. Okay, so here's the list of abbreviations. And this particular student has more than 1 page of figures. So as you can see that it has already gone to the second page, so you don't have to keep another heading, list of figures not required. So she has quite a lot of analysis, and you can see the abbreviations, the list of abbreviations here. Okay, so this is the chapter 1, and this part you can see the citation, how she has cited. I'm just highlighting the places where she has cited. And she has also taken some pictures, and she have already cited somewhere here. And see how she has cited when she want to discuss from their work. So these are all the different citations. So the purpose, objectives, significance. Okay, so most of you had a doubt on the structure of the thesis, what needs to be included in the structure of the thesis. This is just an example. Like this student has organized according to every single chapter. Okay, and you can see the chapter 2 literature review. She has a 2.1 introduction. Then she starts with the concepts of market segmentation. And this is important if you are citing an image, which I just highlighted. After your figure, you need to include the reference. And if you see this particular reference, it's 1998. Why? Because the fundamental concepts remains the same. Okay, so if it is like a normal things which needs to be included with the latest citations, whereas if it is a fundamental concepts, it can go to 1998 or even very early 1960s or 1970s, doesn't matter. And you can see here like how she has written to refer a table in a statement. Okay, and see for this figure as well, she has taken from somewhere, so she has a citation for this figure. And see here, when she want to discuss about a statement from a particular guy, so she has written according to this particular person. And then let me just scroll a little bit faster. Okay, so some of you have a doubt on what needs to have it in a discussion. So you can see here how she starts. So she starts with the review studies in this section have provided a broad understanding of market segmentation and purpose of continuous practice in the industry. So she just provides a detailed introduction and then she starts to explain. And when you read this and when you try to map it with your objectives, you can see like in this entire part, there will be the problems which she has identified in the existing literature. And these problems are being solved in her objectives. Okay, so this is the research methodology. You can see the introduction. It's not too lengthy, but it's clear. And she has a research approach. She has included a research approach in the form of a flow chart. So she has an EDA clustering. So she is talking about hypothesis, predictive modeling, linear regression, neural network, and the different evaluation matrices. And this is for the analysis. So again, you can see there is an introduction. So every figure should be supported by interpretation. Okay, so if you see a figure 4.8, which she has generated based on her analysis, then she has explained. This is the interpretation. So the interpretations are something important. Same thing goes to figure 4.7. So she has an interpretation. All this are 4.7. It's supporting the 4.7 figure. Okay, so this is the results. Let me just move a little bit fast. We got only 8 minutes. Okay, so here is the reference. So you can see the conclusion. Here's the conclusion. So she has written key learnings of the study, implication of key learnings. The sections may not be the same, the limitation, and you can see the references. And she used Mendeley as well. If you see the references, how many references she has used, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages, 8, 9. around 10 pages, around 9.5 or 10 pages of references in the final thesis. So each page, we can say somewhere about like 10 references. So if it is like 9 pages, so she has used around 90 references for a master's dissertation. Even if you keep an average of 10 citations per page, she has 9 pages of references, and meaning it's 90, somewhere around 90 references. So she has used around 90 references in her final thesis. Okay, guys, so any other doubts? So the next question is from Srinivas. For the interim report, where should we keep references? Okay, after your research methodology, you will have another section for your references. Sorry, another page for the references. In your final, it will go after your conclusion. Okay, guys, any other doubts?
We'll take a couple of more questions, Dr. Manoj. Is that fine?
Okay, Karan. Okay, Karan.
Yeah, we'll just wait for a couple of minutes. If no one is there, then we can end the session.
Okay, sure, Karan. Thank you. Srinivas, the question from Srinivas, references are from Mendeley. Yeah, that's right. So in your Mendeley, there is an option. I mean, in your Word document, if you have installed the citation plugin, in your Word document, there will be an option to insert bibliography. If you just click on it, it will automatically include all the references. Okay, the next question from Vinodini, can citation be referenced by numbers like 1, 2, and 3? No.
Okay, Dr. Manoj, we can now end the session.
Okay, thank you, Karan, and thank you guys for attending. Okay, there is some last question from Aman. Should the entire report be in some particular tense, or it may vary based on section? Example, literature review is done and analysis is to be done. Thank you very much, Aman, for asking these questions. The tense will change in every single chapter. Okay, so you need to see the present, past, and future while writing. Thank you, Aman. Okay, so is there any other questions, guys? If not, we will end the session. Okay, Karan, I think we are done for today.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Manoj, and best of luck to everybody for the submissions. Please submit it on time and wish you all the luck.
Okay, thank you, Karan, and thank you guys. So all the best.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj.